Todd Bowles let out his rallying cry when he was at the Combine. He wants some goddamn Ballhawks. And I agree, this defense absolutely needs that. Winfield is normally the guy to get the defensive turnovers, but he was too injured to really do anything. And really none of our defensive players, outside of maybe Tyke Smith, really stepped up to the plate in that regard. Therefore, I think it's wise to look at a younger guy, someone who can introduce some new life to this Bucs defense. Now, Bowles wasn't very picky about where he wants his turnovers, and neither am I. I'm going to be looking at some draft prospects that I think can translate to the NFL and will be good NFL players while also having a propensity for getting turnovers. Now, I'm going to be looking at cornerbacks, I'm going to be looking at edge rushers, I'm going to be looking at linebackers, I'm going to be looking at safeties. Basically, if you play on defense and you're forced a fucking turnover, I want you on this team because God knows we need it. And the first guy on this list is a man named Jahdae Barron. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it at least. I've heard Scott Fowler say it on the broadcast as Jahdae Barron, so that's what I will be going with. Ironically, Lance Zierlein over at the NFL.com compared Barron to Tyke Smith. I didn't actually know that until looking deeper into draft profiles and some of the film on him, but I actually do see those similarities. Much like Tyke Smith, he's a bit undersized at 5'10", but he plays with a lot of tenacity and toughness, and also like Tyke, he can be moved all over the defense. Now, for most of his career, Barron played in the slot, and I think that's ultimately where the Bucs will have him unless they think that he would be a better safety than Tyke Smith, or maybe he could sub in for injury, I don't know. But either way, he's played most of his career in the slot, and some people had questions about how he would play outside corner. Well, in 2024, according to PFF, he played 679 snaps, by far the most in his 4-year collegiate career, and he followed that up with allowing the fewest amount of receptions despite playing the most amount of snaps in his college career. He allowed the second fewest amount of yards in his career, and he didn't allow a single touchdown, which again he's only done one other time in his career, back in 2022. Oh, and he also had 5 interceptions. Yeah, I would say that's pretty alright. I think that's quite a few turnovers. His 5 interceptions is actually tied with roughly 20 different defensive backs in the NCAA last season, but either way, that's still really impressive and is 3 more than the guy that had the most amount of interceptions on the Buccaneers. So yeah, again, pretty damn good. Now, a lot of people project Barron to be a safety, mostly because his long stride isn't very good. He doesn't seem to be able to keep up with faster wide receivers, and therefore playing safety would kind of alleviate some of those concerns. However, at 5'10", I'm not sure that this is the most viable path for his career, although he seems pretty confident in himself, and I'm going to get into that aspect of his character a little bit because I think that's another favor for him. I'm not saying Barron can absolutely not play safety. However, I think the Bucs, if they were to look at him and were to draft him, would most likely put him at nickel, where, again, he's played the majority of his snaps, except, obviously, in 2024. Maybe he could challenge Jamel Dean or potentially be a cornerback 3 on the team, and who knows, maybe he can come in for injury if, God forbid, half the secondary goes on IR again. Either way, I see Jahdae Barron on the Bucs as a nickel defender, and I think that is where he could get the most amount of damage and get the most amount of turnovers. His biggest asset is easily his football intelligence. I don't know if there is a smarter DB in this draft, and the way that he plays really just shows that. He just is a master of baiting quarterbacks into making bad throws that he just picks off like he is, well, a hawk. He is just so good at anticipating routes and playing zone coverage and keeping his eyes on the quarterback and making all the right plays that you want to make. His tackling is a little bit inconsistent. However, I found him to be mostly pretty solid, even if his technique sometimes could be a little bit lackluster. I noticed he would sometimes only try to arm tackle or lead with his helmet. However, I would argue something like that can be fixed with the right coaches, and as I said in the Jalen Walker video, I do think the Bucs have the right coaches to develop most defensive players. Now, I mentioned before his football IQ, and I think he did showcase that quite a bit at the Combine when he spoke to the media. He sounds like he's an NFL veteran that's been in the league for 5 years, not a guy that's about to enter the league in a few months. He reminds me a little bit of CJ Stroud in that regard, just sounding like he's already been in the league. Like I said, like just incredibly mature. Like the responses he gave are probably exciting a lot of NFL teams. I know combine interviews aren't the end all be all. Obviously, NFL teams would rather prioritize really good production outside of, well, this guy sounded pretty professional. However, I do think the interviews can kind of showcase a player's maturity, and I do think NFL teams take notice of that, and they do like put some stock into it, even if it's not the most important thing.
I mean that's perfect just for this class. This class, it has a heck of a ball players, heck of DVs, and they do a lot of great things, and I do a lot of great things myself. I just think for myself, I'm a more versatile than anybody in this draft class this year, and I know it'll help with a lot of defense. I like watching McDuffie, how he gets moved around just from corner to nickel and things like that, and just being able to do that. A team won't anticipate where I'm at, where I won't be throughout the next week and things like that, or the next drive. So just having that and having that installed, and for any team, I know it'd be beneficial.
Texas had you play more outside.
Ultimately, I think the Buccaneers would rather target an edge prospect or some kind of off-ball linebacker rather than a secondary piece. However, if the board falls and Barron is there and there's not really any good edge players, I do think Barron would be a really good pick at 19. Most the NFL teams that Barron has met with all pick below the Buccaneers with the exception of the Dallas Cowboys. However, I don't think the Cowboys would go with him at pick 12. They might. I mean, Jerry Jones can do anything, really. But I think that Jahdae Barron falling to 19 is very likely for the Bucs, and I would like him in this secondary. I think he's a very versatile piece, which Todd Bowles would love, and he's just really good at being where the ball is. He is so incredibly good at reading the quarterback and making plays. Whether it be picks or whether it be pass deflections, he is just so capable as a player, and I think he would be a really good nickel in Bowles' system. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this. If you've made it this far in the video, let me know if you like Jahdae Barron to the Buccaneers or not. I know this video is shorter by quite a bit compared to the Jalen Walker video, and I think that's what most of these videos will be around from now on. I just think it works better. But like I said, let me know what you think, and if you like this video, please like it and maybe even subscribe. I will be having another video on, again, a Ballhawk pretty soon in the coming days. At this point, I believe the Combine will have come and went, so I'll be able to use that much at least when I talk about these prospects, unlike Jalen Walker and Jahdae Barron. But yeah, that's it for me. Have a good one, y'all.